Okay, AP Seminar, so we've got to talk about what makes a source credible. Credible means believable, and as you do research through the course of this entire year, you're going to encounter a ton of sources, articles, things that have been published, news pieces, things on the internet, things in books, things in magazines, things in all kinds of publications, and you're going to have to critically address not just can I believe this source, can I trust this source, but why? What are the things that make this source trustworthy? So we're going to use an acronym called RAVEN to make sure that our sources are trustworthy. And RAVEN is an acronym that we're going to use, sorry about that, to ensure that we have credible sources. So, keys here. Not every source is reliable. We cannot trust every source that we see. But the kind of research we're going to do in AP Seminar, this academic research, it doesn't just require you to check and see if your source is reliable. It actually requires you to justify that your source is reliable. So you can't just say, well, this seems reliable, or, this author speaks with a lot of authority, so I really feel like I can trust him. You have to be able to prove it, and you have to be able to demonstrate it. And when you write your papers, sometimes you're going to have to actually write out in a paper, some of the pieces that make a source trustworthy. So like I said, we're going to use a framework abbreviated as RAVEN, and we're going to talk about that for the rest of this presentation. And I'm going to give you an organizer. At the end of this presentation, there's an organizer in Schoology that you're going to use as sort of a helpful framework as you get started with the process of using RAVEN, because it feels very big the first couple of times you do it. And then you sort of get in the habit for looking for these 5 things. So RAVEN stands for reputation, ability to observe, vested interest, expertise, and neutrality. So what are we talking about when we talk about reputation? The first thing we're talking about is, what is the reputation of the author? Who is this person? Do they have a PhD? Are they famous? Are they a professor in their field? Are they well known in their field? For example, if you're doing biology research, are they a biologist? Or are they a chemist? Because if they're a chemist, or an economist, or a chiropractor, they might not be the most reputable biology source. So while somebody might have a great deal of expertise in a field, do they have the most expertise in this field? If you're reading a piece about education, are you looking at somebody who has won awards in the field of education? Have they spoken at education conferences? Or are they somebody who has a PhD in economics? Well, that doesn't make them an expert in education. That makes them an expert in economics. So really think about the reputation of the author. What are they known for? Who are they? Sometimes, or maybe even most of the time, this is going to require you to Google this person's name. Who are they? What are they known for? And sometimes you're going to find so-and-so is well known for being a total crackpot. They scream and yell and have nothing smart to say. Okay, well, you've learned that this source is not credible. You don't even have to do the AVEN because you've checked it off with reputation. The other thing you need to check with reputation is the publication. So for example, if something is being published in a medical journal, that's probably a publication that has a great deal of authority, of strong reputation. It's well known, it's a publication, it's well regarded. If it's being published in like a biased news source or a blog, or the comments of a YouTube video, right? These are not reputable publication sources. The A is ability to observe. The first thing here is, does this author, this person who wrote this piece, do they have the ability to observe the thing they're talking about? So if we go back to a piece that is a biology piece, you're doing biology research, does this person have access to a microscope and primary data? Are they doing their own research? Are they providing you with the procedures and the things that they did in order to come to these conclusions? Or are they relying on other people's information and other people's data? Okay? If the article is about some kind of event, did the author observe this event? Did the author experience this event? Did the author attend this event? Or is the author just sort of writing about things they read in the news or heard about? And then thinking about, is the author using primary data, meaning they did their own research, they found their own numbers, they have generated their own data? Or is the author using secondary data? Are they relying on someone else's information, someone else's research, someone else's sources? None of this means necessarily that the author isn't reliable, but these are things that we want to look at in terms of how reliable and how trustworthy. In general, authors who have observed it on their own, who have done their own research, who have put together their own procedures, who have their own firsthand primary data are going to be more reliable than authors who are leaning on secondary data or other people's recollections or descriptions of an event. It's not 100% true, but it's something to look at. V means vested interest. Does this author have a personal stake in the topic or event? This is going to get to bias, okay? Does the author gain anything by lying? A great example of this is the man who produced the debunked publication about vaccines causing autism. Well, he was the producer of an alternate vaccine. So did he gain anything by lying? Yes, he did. By lying, by misrepresenting the truth, he was able to market his own alternate vaccine to this other one that he was saying caused autism. So we always need to think, could this person make money? Could this person gain fame? Could this person gain something in the world by lying? And does the author gain anything by telling the truth? Usually this will go back to that reputation feature. Reputable researchers tend to gain authority and respect in their field when they tell the truth. But thinking about this, what is at stake? What is the author's vested interest in this issue? The E is expertise. Is this author an expert? Okay, again, if you are looking at somebody, my favorite is every now and then you'll see a commercial. Pay attention to commercials. You'll see a commercial and it will say, Dr. So-and-so, and this doctor is talking about, some kind of medication or some kind of nutritional supplement. Everyone should take this nutritional supplement. It is safe and it is healthy. And then if you Google that person, it turns out that they're like a doctor of philosophy. So yes, they have a PhD, they're technically a doctor. But when you put them up on TV and you call them Dr. Smith and they're doing a medical commercial, what do you assume? You assume that they're a medical doctor. But you've got to pay attention. What is this person an expert in? Are they an expert in the field you're talking about? A good thing to look for is, do they have a PhD or an advanced degree? If it's somebody who's writing about the law, do they have a JD? Are they a lawyer? Are they a judge? Think about, do other people consider them to be experts in the field? And then also looking at the evidence. Does this all come from a source that has expertise? In the news, often you'll see people quoting folks, just regular folks out on the street, okay? And they'll be asking them questions. And that's helpful in the news, but that doesn't necessarily make a source credible in terms of academic research, right? Those are not, those sources, just folks out on the street experiencing life, living life, they're not people who necessarily have expertise on a topic or event. And then the N stands for neutrality. This really connects to the bias. Does this author have any cause to be biased? Can he be neutral? Can she maintain that neutrality in the face of controversial claims? Are her sources biased? And then always thinking about how controversial is the issue. Is the author using emotional terms? Is the author using extremes or words like always and never, okay? Or does the author present that information with neutrality? So when we're looking at these 5 pieces to evaluate a source, the first thing we need to do is identify the author and identify the publication. Google those things. Make sure you know the reputation of that author and that source. Okay, who are they? Are they reputable? Then, while you read the piece, really think about, did this author have the ability to observe these facts and these statistics and these details? Did the author create this data, or are they using someone else's data? Think about if the author has a vested interest in conveying the truth, and then consider their expertise. As you read, do they clearly come across as an expert in their field? Do they reference issues in their field? Do they connect to other major names in their field? And then also, is their phrasing neutral? Do they appear to have some academic neutrality? And then, if you can check all those boxes and you really think about if a source is credible, you never will cite unreliable sources again. And you can continue to make sure that you are doing meaningful academic research that isn't undercut by citing a biased or an unreliable source. So the next thing you're going to do is go into Schoology, and you're going to use the graphic organizer that I created for you to evaluate these sources. I hope that you enjoy that activity. Good luck, guys!